massive open world adventure. That's what it says on the back of the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt box. And that's not entirely true, because this world isn't what I would call an open world. Yes, it's large and the areas are vast, but there's still sort of loading screens between regions and you have to fast travel between them, and it's not one big constant world. But that doesn't stop The Witcher 3 from being an absolutely brilliant game, even with some niggling flaws. Now, I know this look at Witcher 3 is a bit later than a lot of other reviews, and that's because I wanted to play a decent bit of it before I took out this video. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's the third game from CD Projekt Red, sorry, and it follows on from The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, and The Witcher 1, both of which I have played in small amounts, but not from the beginning to the end. So you're probably thinking, well, do you need to have played those games to appreciate this one? No, is the answer. You will get more from this one if you followed the story from the first to the second and then on to this one, but it's definitely not necessary. And don't worry, this video doesn't ruin any of the main story. It's just a video of me doing a simple side quest, of which there are hundreds, and from what I've seen so far, they're very good. So The Witcher is a very good game. Let's talk about the good points first. The graphics, although they are apparently downgraded from the E3 last year, which I can't really remember, I would need to watch an old video, they're downgraded from that and not as good apparently. They are still fantastic. They have some of the best facial expressions in a game I've seen. There's actually character in the faces. The eyes are a wee bit dead still, but Geralt and all the other characters, when they're close up, react, and the movement of their mouth and their eyes, and that really conveys a sense of emotion. The detail in the world is fantastic. There's so many trees and plants and wildlife that when a storm comes through the dynamic weather system, it really is brilliant, with lightning strikes and rain hitting Geralt's face. It really does have an atmospheric feel to it. The graphics aren't amazing, although Geralt's hair looks pretty good there and his sexy beard looks pretty good. The hair in general is still a bit sort of flat and waxy looking, like this guy's hair. Some of the close-up textures, being a large world, aren't so great, but for the most part this game looks the part and is a very good looking game. The music is very good as well, kind of orchestral, although I turned it down because I like my games to be a bit more atmospheric, and I feel as though sometimes music can up the ante and make things seem exciting when a boss comes around, but I like to explore a world with no music and just take in the sounds of the birds and the wind howling and all the monsters that are around you. And I actually recommend you do this just to get a better feeling of the world and feel as though you're actually part of it. The other thing that is really amazing about this game is the writing and the voice acting. There has been very few games that I have been this invested or interested in the story and the characters. Even a lot of the characters in the side quests are very well written and have really interesting stories to tell, and CD Projekt Red have to be commended for just putting detail into every single house and character to make them interesting. And I think that's one of the strongest points of the game, if not the strongest point of the game. The characters are just so good, and the story is so interesting without ruining it. You are looking for your adopted daughter Ciri, who's getting chased by the Wild Hunt, and it's really developing into something special. The RPG mechanics are sort of as you would imagine. All the different menus that you get in the game are all of interest. My favourite is the bestiary, which has details on every monster you come across and how to defeat them, and a bit of lore on them as well, and I really like that kind of thing. I think that's harking back to my days of loving Pokemon and the Pokedex. But I really like studying the monsters, and in this game it's important that you do, because each monster has a weakness that you do need to exploit, especially on the harder difficulty levels. The leveling up is your usual kind of level up attacks, level up your magic, and it is good, kind of standard RPG fare. The menus look good, but they're not the most intuitive, a wee bit clunky, and there's alchemy and crafting to do as well, which is fine, not amazing, but it's enjoyable, and it's good that it's there. So the lore and the story and the characters are all extremely interesting and easily the best part of the game. In fact, they're probably better than almost any other game I've seen, with the exception of something more focused, maybe like The Last of Us. But the game has several flaws, a lot of which have not ruined, but have been tarnishing my experience of this brilliantly crafted world. The combat and the movement, I would say actually more precisely, is, I think, terrible. Whereas it's very good that it makes you think in combat, it makes you approach it not just attacking and just, you know, swinging, flailing your sword around and expecting the best results. That works sometimes, but usually you will get killed, even on normal difficulties. You have to put oils on your sword, bring in the right potions and equipment, use the right sword, and just take your time as well. Unfortunately though, I find the movement in the game absolutely just, it's ruined several fights for me, and this game is also very glitchy, and I've had some great game breaking bugs where I've had to actually start the game up again, and therefore suffer very long loading times. I know people complained about Bloodborne's loading times in between deaths. This is just as bad, sometimes worse, I think, especially since that Bloodborne patch. I find Geralt's movement very clunky. I can never target the enemies quite exactly as I want to. Geralt doesn't exactly dodge and roll in the exact way I want him to. I find that I'm constantly pressing buttons to get him to activate something. Sometimes it requires 1 or 2 presses when it should just happen instantaneously. And I just find a lot of the time he's flailing his sword around, and he could be flailing it around and nowhere near the enemy. And that is not... I know you're saying, well, you're maybe just crap at the game. I'm usually pretty good at these kinds of games. I loved Bloodborne, and Bloodborne is a game where the combat is so precise, and that's what makes it fun. I find the combat in this game easily the least enjoyable part of it, and I just think the movement of Geralt is very clunky. He gets stuck on things, he walks into walls when you've only just tapped the left stick, and I just think it could have done with a bit more love, but it's and attention. Whereas obviously the world and characters have had that love and attention, I feel as though the actual gameplay has not. And I think that is the most important part of a game. You can have the best story, the best characters, the best world in a game, but if the gameplay is not up to scratch, then it definitely hinders the experience, and that is the problem with The Witcher for me. Also, this game is quite buggy and glitchy. You saw in the clip at the start of that horse getting stuck on the tree there and just kept on running. There are so many problems like that in this game that are completely immersion breaking. There was one boss that I had to fight that I had to restart 3 times because he got stuck in the geometry of the game, and I had to, even if I stood in the middle of the arena, he still couldn't get out, and I had to stand there. And that happened not once, but 3 times with the same boss. I have also been knocked into the geometry and got stuck, and then unable to get out and been killed that way. And yet again, you could say, oh well, you can forgive it for so many things it does right, and yes, you can, but when the immersion is broken like that, it really does dampen the experience, and it makes The Witcher not as perfect as what a lot of people are saying it is. Like I said before, the menus are functional but not brilliant. Everything else in the game in terms of crafting is nothing particularly special. You gather herbs kind of like in any other RPG, and you mix them together to get potions. It's more in the use of these potions that are interesting rather than the crafting of them. So, on to a little explanation of my videos that I'm going to be doing now. I've decided not to do reviews as such, but I'm changing the format to should you buy. Now that's because I am no way an expert journalist. I do this as a hobby, and I feel as though reviews, you need to have a very, very vast sort of deep knowledge of video games and how they work. And I don't claim to know that. I'm just a person who absolutely loves video games. And having not played through a game of this size all the way through, it would take hundreds of hours probably, I decided to do a should you buy. So after a decent amount of time in the game, am I enjoying the game enough to recommend that you buy it or recommend that you steer clear? So that is the format of my future videos. The next one will probably be the new Batman game, which is out in a couple of days. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and to conclude, The Witcher 3, should you buy? Yes, you should, especially if you love great story, great characters and RPGs. It is one of the best RPGs this year, if not the best. I'm not counting Bloodborne in that. It's a different kind of game. It's more of an action RPG. The characters stunning, the world stunning, the story absolutely brilliant. You will get invested in this if you like things like Game of Thrones and Western RPGs, medieval fantasy. It is crafted with a love and attention that you see very rarely in video games. If only they'd done the same with the gameplay and the combat, it would have been almost perfect. So yes, you should go out and buy this game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.